lot of nuts!
What up, hyenas, and welcome back to the SumitoMedia channel. Today, we're talking about memes. I know, what an absolute delight, right? But not just any memes. Today, we're taking a look at a meme that makes fun of other memes in a way that you can only really appreciate if you are a connoisseur of internet culture, and if you aren't, don't worry, that's what I'm here for. Today, we're talking about the subreddit slash subgenre of memes by the name of being coaxed into a snafu, which is a sentence that I understand probably already confuses you. Don't worry, we're gonna dissect this slowly. According to KnowYourMeme.com, coaxed into a snafu refers to a series of poorly drawn rage comics and advice animals, characters that are captioned with various popular internet catchphrases. Think of basically any rage comic you can think of. The troll face, the Jackie Chan thing, or any of the advice animals with the rainbow background in the text. Coaxed into a snafu is basically a reference to this image that was posted to like a Facebook page and then later turned into a subreddit back in 2012, where somebody decided to poorly draw all of these memes. Now, things like the rage face, the problem face are already MS Paint hand-drawn images. They're already kind of lackluster in detail and design and color, as it were. But coaxed into a snafu memes specifically draw them a little bit more childishly, a little bit more amateurishly, and they use sort of alternative language in an effort to sort of make fun of the already existing, pre-existing established way of saying, like, instead of saying troll face or problem, it's are you having a problem? Are you uncomfortable? Grievances? And most popularly, you have been coaxed into a snafu. The main idea behind this is to take a well-established, understood meme, some sort of image, some sort of text that goes along with that image, you know, an image macro, and then turning it into something that uses more words than is necessary, accompanied by a poorly drawn image. That's effectively what it is. Coaxed into a snafu on its own is already making fun of the troll face image, followed by the text of something like trolled or problem. Coaxed into a snafu basically meaning being pushed into a snafu. A snafu is an acronym, I believe, used in military situations that refers to system normal, comma, all fucked up, which is to say, yeah, everything's fine, it's all bullshit as it normally is, right? There's a problem, but we're used to it. Being coaxed into that is like, you get what I mean. You're using as many big words as possible in order to reflect the single word that the meme originates. So for instance, saying somebody was trolled and then following it up with a troll face is a perfectly normal and acceptable way to communicate on the internet via memes. But if you were to coax it into a snafu, it becomes something like this: a wildly exaggerated MS Paint drawing of that same troll face over here on the right, if you want to take a closer look at it. And the word problem or trolled now becomes, I've lied to you, a heinous and dishonorable act. Yes, I did so with purpose. My goal, friend, was to get you to respond as though it were the God's honest truth. Humorous deception, and I'm afraid you've fallen prey to it. It is completely overcomplicating this otherwise normally understood aspect of the internet in an effort to ridicule it. Here's a collection that I found on a Reddit thread trying to put together some of this. The collection has been put together from January in 2013, so this is pretty accurate to the time frame of when these originated. And you can see that we've got have you and disappointments is, are you mad, you know, mad bro, butt frustrated, anal damage, which is all butt hurt, which is mad bro, this is just you mad bro. Issues, problems, right? Troubles, big meaty dicks. I'm a little bit confused as to what this one is referring to. Have your emotions been tickled? Not really sure what this one is in reference to. You just got tricked. Is the current state of affairs causing you large quantities of inconveniences? Haha, are you angry, dude? You've been deliberately aggravated. These are just stupid fucking examples. But ironically, if you sent one of these to somebody today, even just sending somebody a troll face would be like, damn, dude, that's a hell of a throwback meme. You send somebody one of these, they're gonna fucking like report you to a mental asylum. These are a mental asylum. These are insane. It was all an elaborate ruse. Load 51 more images. How many of these are there? You have never before known yourself to have felt such a fluster. Holy fuck. So the origin of Coaxed into a Snafu was basically one user hand drawing, redrawing a number of popular memes and then sort of using alternative language in order to evoke the same meme, but in a more personal, amateurish style. And for a long time, that's basically what Coaxed into a Snafu was people taking a popular meme and then hand drawing it in MS Paint in an effort to sort of ridicule it and see if people could still connect the dots to see what meme they were trying to evoke despite having made it themselves. Can you still tell the original meme that I'm making fun of despite the fact that I made this with my own two hands? But with the nature of Coaxed into a Snafu basically being memes that made fun of other memes, and memes themselves just being a joke of some aspect of internet culture, very quickly Coaxed into a Snafu started to become people making memes directly making fun of different aspects of internet culture. It was no longer just hand-drawn recreations of memes and advice animals, troll faces, and rage comics, but rather it really just sort of became low-effort comics and webcomics, people basically making an artistic representation of some aspect of internet culture. And as a result, over the course of time, the modern subreddit is really a beautiful mine, a gold mine as it were, of some of the most, I don't know how to explain it, like some of the most hateful representations of aspects of internet culture, gaming, and media that people find distasteful, but purely expressed through MS Paint drawn images. It's kind of beautiful. Esoteric? Is it difficult to understand any of these without a deep knowledge of internet culture, video games, movies, and music? Absolutely. But when you do get it, oh man, it's like the inside joke of inside jokes. Here's one of the most highest rated images from Coaxed into a Snafu, titled r/am I the asshole, which is a popular subreddit where people post stories asking for Reddit's opinion on whether or not they were the asshole in any given situation, right? But the image says r/am I possibly an anus, posted by Reddit man. As you can see, they're already sort of extrapolating and using alternative synonyms for the words that they are in an effort to sort of pay homage to the original Coaxed into a Snafu. Am I the asshole for donating money to help children with herpes instead of beating my girlfriend? And then receiving an infinite number of upvotes. Now, is this a poorly drawn representation of a all too common situation on Reddit? Yes, but it is also making fun of the karma farming that occurs on websites like Reddit. This is supposed to be a subreddit where people will post a relatively controversial situation and then ask for the opinions of people as to whether or not what they did could make them perceived as the bad guy in a situation. What do you guys think? But what happens all too often is people will post situations where they're very clearly in the right, doing the correct noble thing, but they just want to brag about how great they are in an effort to get people to talk about, nah man, you did the right thing. Of course you're not the asshole. Here, have an upvote. But just making fun of that isn't enough. You gotta be esoteric. You gotta hand draw it yourself. Put the Reddit gold. Look at all of these little elements between the infinite upvotes being done in MS Paint and changing the subreddit from am I the asshole to am I possibly an anus. So many little details just to make this joke, which you'll only understand if you already know Reddit culture to be aware of r/am I the asshole. Are you starting to see why I think this is so fucking beautiful? Here's a great one titled Coaxed into Ending Requirements, and it shows two outcomes: bad ending, play the game normally; good ending, and then what I can only assume is an impossible to read, incredible list of things you need to do in order to achieve the good ending. And obviously this one's a little bit more self-explanatory. This is making fun of video games that make it so that if you play the game normally without a guide or without any sort of exterior knowledge, you will end up finishing the game receiving a bad ending. Whereas if you want to get the true ending, the real ending, the good ending, the one that's canonically the ending of the story, you have to jump through fucking hoops. I remember playing through Persona 4 and having to use 2 separate guides in order to get the true golden ending, because there was just so much bullshit you had to do between the dialogue options and then not killing Namatame and then not leaving on the final day where it really feels like you're supposed to, and exploring a whole extra dungeon to then discover what the ending is. Impossible, almost definitely, to try to do so without a written guide. And apparently enough video games do that to the point that this user decided to make a coaxed into a snafu about it. Very beautiful, and probably a bit of a pain point that you yourself can relate to. I had to reset 6 fucking hours just to get Naoto as a romance option. Can you believe it? Some of these are not necessarily so esoteric, so requiring of knowledge of the fundamentals of the media that they're making fun of. Some of these are just grievances that people have with video games and aspects of the internet. For instance, this semi-automatic rifle versus the bolt action version of the same rifle. The semi-automatic does 50 H points of damage, whereas the bolt action does 110 HP of damage, but they are the same caliber. They use the exact same sized bullet, so realistically they should do the same amount of damage regardless of the rifle that they're fired out of, which may upset some gun nerds on the internet. Now, obviously, you know that if a gun has a much higher fire rate and does just as much damage as something with a slower fire rate, you would never use the gun with the slower fire rate in a video game setting, right? But in reality, it's a game design thing. But if you were in real life, yeah, I mean, a 5562 does a 5562, right? This one's titled 21st Century News and reads, teen, 19 dies after the viral soak yourself in uranium whilst inside a particle accelerator dip dap challenge. Now, obviously, you could just post any one of these headlines that you come across on Instagram stating that somebody died while doing the planking challenge in front of a fucking F-22 fighter jet or something, right? And they would be equally ridiculous. But going through the extra lengths in order to hand draw the image in MS Paint and then make it yourself is what makes this into a coaxed into a snafu. And then purposefully using the most ridiculous possible challenge you could think of, covering yourself in uranium whilst inside a particle accelerator, and then referring to TikTok as dip dap in order to just make it as amorphous of a description as possible while still being able to recognize the source material they are making fun of. Mwah! 10 out of 10 coaxed into a snafu. Here's a great one titled Coax into Nonsensical Edgy Theories. First panel, very happy child show that depicts what looks like Pokemon, as is the most famous of these creepypastas theory sort of thing. And the second panel is Theory Guy, very clearly a YouTuber, saying, and this is why the protagonist is in a coma, referring to the age-old fan theories or creepypastas from the dark ages of the internet, in which basically every behind-the-scenes theory of a child show was something along the lines of character is in a coma, everything that happens in the show is just in their mind and is a result of some sort of psychotic break. I believe the most famous one is referring to Pokemon, the original anime, in which Ash witnesses like a ho-oh, and people say that witnessing a ho-oh is either a sign of death or representative of the end of the world or something like that. And the idea is that Ash never actually woke up in time to get to Professor Oak's office and receive his Pikachu. Rather, Ash is in a coma, and all of the adventures that he goes on in the first season of Pokemon is a result of him being in that coma and just imagining all those things, explaining why he never ages, he never dies, he wins every battle. But like, as has become such a common TV trope, we now recognize it's a little bit too easy to just say, oh, it was all in his head the whole time, because it so conveniently explains every little thing about the show. We know that now, but back in the day, that fan theory about Pokemon all being in Ash's head, maybe it was stupid back then too. I don't know. A surprising number of these coaxed into a snafu memes seem to take shots at video games, as we saw in that one with the elaborate true ending. But like a lot of them are just making fun of aspects of video games that they find tiresome and or repetitive and or lazy. For instance, here's Game Design Genius. In a clever twist on the game's mechanics, the humble spring, which previously helped you reach higher elevations, is now an obstacle that will launch you directly into these sharp ceiling spikes. What an ironic turn of events. Here's vanilla game progression versus modded game progression, obviously making fun of the number of pickaxes that you can collect in what I assume is Terraria, versus the modded game progression where it takes 2 hours to get a copper pickaxe, followed by a 40-hour grind to get the Supreme Ultra Diamond Deluxe pickaxe. Modded Terraria has to have like a billion fucking hours to get some late game shit. Coaxed into character design. First character added on release. Attack 1, shoot gun. Ability, quick mobility. Super attack, bomb. Characters after 3 years of release. Attack, holy shit, what is it? Attack 1, shoot gun. 1.1, shoot gun faster. Projectiles can be toggled to heal or do damage. Charge up a beam that attaches to enemies. Charge level meter. This is League of Legends in a fucking nutshell. Get rid of Cassante. Coaxed into misleading dialogue options. This is making fun of what I might be more video games than I'm thinking of, but specifically Fallout 4, where it gives you one line of dialogue, and 9 times out of 10, it feels like the actual thing your character says is not that dialogue option. So our options here are chill out or calm down. And if we select calm down, our main guy, John Snafu here, goes, normally I would tell people to calm down, but now you've pissed me off. You think a little gun will kill me? I doubt it could hit me harder than how your sister does in bed. That's right, I fucked your sister, you stupid. So the decision to tell this guy to calm down is clearly not de-escalating the situation. We must have misinterpreted the calm down dialogue tree. Let's opt for chill out. Surely that means we de-escalate the situation. And no, it turns us into ice. So I guess these dialogue options are a little bit misleading. I feel a bit coaxed. This is one of those genres where I feel like the only real way to explore it is to explain some of the jokes in order to understand and appreciate the nuance of them, but I strongly suggest you check out r/coaxed into a snafu for yourself to see if you can relate to some of the grievances that these people are expressing through their absolutely beautiful hand-drawn minimalistic art. And if you enjoyed this video, remember to like it, leave a subscribe if you want to catch more from me, and I will catch you guys on the next one. Spisu!